Welcome to the Live or Alone podcast, the podcast where two nerds who consume a whole lot of horror discuss their favorite pieces of horror media. From movies and TV shows to video games, novels, and everything in between. Because this is a spooky world, and we're just thriving in it. I'm your host, Sarah, the survivalist in your slasher friend group that will put up a lasting fight, but inevitably die because only the final girl can survive.
And I'm your host, Ian, the fearless fighter in your slasher friend group that tries to save the day, but ends up dying because physical strength just doesn't win in horror.
In today's episode, we're talking about a recent Irish horror film that has been getting a lot of rave reviews from horror lovers, including Mike Flanagan, Oddity. Okay, so a brief synopsis of the movie Oddity. After the brutal murder of her twin sister, Darcy goes after those responsible by using haunted items as her tools for revenge. Alright, there's not too much to say, at least when it comes to trivia, about this movie, but we are going to kick things off with a game, which is a round of trivia, Creepin' It Real. And I've only got two things here, let's be real, and I know you know one of them, but let's just do it for the funsies, for the bit. Are you ready?
Let's do it.
True or false, one actor plays multiple roles in the film?
Yeah, it's a sister.
Yeah.
Because I actually didn't know.
I didn't know either.
I didn't know because she did it so her face looked completely different. They didn't do any prosthetics or anything.
How did you figure it though? Because I do remember when we were watching it, you ended up looking it up.
So I was looking at her and I was just like, she keeps talking about her sister, but you never see both of them together. And I was like, is that the same person? I was like, it can't be. And I looked it up and I was like, wait a second, there's no other person here. And I only said one person's name. Also,
they specify at one point that they are twins. And then you're like, wait a second.
Yeah.
Yeah?
That's when I figured out. I was like, oh, so she's playing both. But I could not tell.
Because if they were really twin, like if it wasn't one person and they were really twins, I'm sure they would have thrown in a lot more scenes with both of them.
Yeah, but I guess they didn't want to make it corny, which is good.
Yeah. Okay, and then the second one, I didn't really structure it as a question, to be honest, because I didn't know how to, so I'm just going to say it as a fun fact. It is about the wooden man in the movie, which we all know is like the creepiest part about this movie, but the wooden man was actually inspired by a Jewish folklore of the golem. It's a large clay figure who can be brought to life through rituals to do the bidding of its creator, which I think is a great foreshadowing to what this movie is about, at least when it comes to the wooden man part.
Yeah, I read about that before too.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I think they put like family heirlooms or something inside of them. But I think it's in the chest. But in this movie they put it in the head.
Oh, interesting. So you're talking about like the golem.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. That's cool. Very interesting. Alright, so let's jump into the actual conversation, starting off with why we picked this piece of content to begin with. Of course, it's a new horror movie, and we're trying to keep up to date with the latest, and there's a lot of horror movies coming out this year, so we had to jump on it, and like I said, it got rave reviews. Like, every time I heard somebody talk about it, at least from, like, the horror world perspective, people were saying that it had a really cool, unique spin on a horror movie. So that really, really intrigued me. And very recently, Ian doesn't know this, but very recently Mike Flanagan came out and said that it's like a horror masterpiece.
For real?
Yeah, he had a lot to say about it and a lot of great things. So he has very, very high regard for this movie, which is cool because it's kind of... I don't think it's an indie... I don't know for sure if it's an indie movie, but it's definitely not one of those mass-produced, high-production Scream series type of movies. So it's really nice to see it get a lot of credit from Mike Flanagan.
I mean, I don't know if it was a masterpiece. I could see it being a masterpiece if we watch it again.
Yeah.
But there were certain things that I was like, not bad things, but the story. You know how I am. I don't want everybody to get killed.
Oh, okay, yeah. I mean, it's so funny. Like, you watch horror movies and you love horror movies, but you want it to have a happily ever after, which is not realistic.
Yeah.
But let's jump into why we like this movie, and there's actually a lot of things to like, and I can see why Mike Flanagan is saying it's a masterpiece in some ways, so let's jump into it. The first thing is it's sort of a unique take on a cursed item. Of course, it's inspired by Jewish folklore, so it's not new, but I thought it was an interesting, unique take on the item itself, like the way it looks. It looks like a human.
Oh, the wooden man.
Yeah.
Yeah, he looks fucking creepy as fuck.
He looks like a legit human being in a costume almost.
Yeah, it would look mad creepy. Like when they had him in the chest, and she opened it up, I was like, that's just mad creepy. It just looks ugly.
It's so
like dreary shit.
Yeah, and it's also like because it looks so human-like, but not at the same time. It's very unsettling. It's like I don't get it. Like my brain can't compute that, and it's freaking me out. Like, is it gonna come at me like a human? Is it gonna come at me at all? And I think there was a lot of tension with that because you didn't know throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, and then it was weird because the husband didn't really care about it. He's like, alright, whatever. I guess because he's been around all her oddities.
I guess that's true, but I don't think I would want to be in the house if that thing was in the house.
Nah, if you look at it, it just looks fucking creepy.
It's very scary. It's probably the scariest.
Like the first day you'll... Sorry, I cut you off.
You know,
the first day you have it there, then you'll be like, this is fucking creepy, and then I think after a couple days you'll be like, alright, whatever.
I don't think I would stay in the house. Like, if that showed up in the house the day of and you were like at work or something, I would call you and be like, I'm leaving.
Yeah, that shit is weird. Like one of those...
Absolutely not.
One of those weird ass movies where the camera pans back and you're like,
yes,
what the fuck is this?
Yes, and that's a really, really great segue into the next thing that I really like about this movie, and I think this is what Mike Flanagan is talking about when he says masterpiece. It's extremely atmospheric. Super atmospheric. It's very dark. It's very dreary the entire time. And it lends itself to the horror of the movie. It's part of the horror is that atmosphere, that dark tension, and the darkness itself. Because if you think about it, a lot of things were happening when you couldn't see it. Like, you would be in a funny angle when you're watching the movie, and something would be happening maybe just out of frame or just in the shadows and you can't fully see it.
Yeah.
And that was the scary part of it. It's like you didn't know what was going on until, like, it switched over to another angle or another scene, and then it was revealed what happened. And you're like, I was just watching the screen, but I didn't see that happen.
Well, the cinematography was good, too. It was like, the colors and everything, too.
It was very dark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the story was good, too. It was like, something was happening here, and then it led to this. Mm-hmm. But also, well, I don't want to get into dislikes, but some of it was kind of cliche, too.
Yes, definitely. And we'll get into the dislikes, because I totally agree with that. But I think if we're talking about the logistics of a horror movie, this one did it really well. Like, they didn't make it too cheesy. They didn't overdo it. They knew exactly where to place things and how to angle it cinematography-wise so that it would freak out the viewer. So they really paid attention to how the audience would view the movie and how it would scare them in that way. Because, like, if you think about it, it really is a basic story.
Yeah, and also it's like, I think throughout the whole movie when I was watching it, it felt like sad because, like, she died.
Yeah.
So you didn't get past that sadness. And the husband was just like, whatever. Going to work, and then even his job looked like shit. Like dark and dreary, and like, you know, scary because there's a bunch of, mental patients there. So you're just like, what the fuck?
The whole thing was heavy. The whole thing. And, like, I don't even remember seeing daylight.
Yeah, it wasn't like a happy thing.
Not at all. Not even a break of it. Like, maybe you got a little bit of a break from the new partner. The husband's new partner. Like, she was kind of funny, but it was still dark and somber.
Yeah, she was mad sarcastic.
Yeah, she was sarcastic. So that was kind of like the break in the tension, but it was still tense the entire time.
Yep.
How long was this movie?
It was an hour, and it was 98 minutes.
It wasn't long, yeah. Because I'm thinking about it, and it's like, okay, not that much happened. But it was effective. It had an impact, that horror impact. Another great thing about this is that it actually was scary. There were some scenes that were actually unsettling. For example, I feel like the scariest parts for me were scenes that included the wooden man. So you would have a scene with him, or it, sitting there, and, you know, it would cut to a couple of other scenes, and then next thing you know it, the wooden man has completely moved, changed position. Yeah. Especially the scene where it's looking up. That was freaking scary.
Yeah, that shit was great. Yeah, that shit was crazy.
So I feel like those were the scariest parts for me, and they were genuinely scary. They weren't like jump scares. They weren't like flashy, cliche type of scares. They were legitimately creepy.
The scary shit for me was when she was going inside of his head. I'm taking other shit because I was like, you could feel that going into your head.
Oh,
like,
really?
Yeah.
I was more so scared for her getting caught.
Yeah, or if he jumped at her, like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Like, it really does look like it's a... Do we know if it's actually a wooden figure?
Nah, I looked it up as a guy.
Okay. Because I'm like, that looks like a real person.
I mean, it's probably a dummy, and then afterwards, when he's moving, then it's a guy.
Okay, yeah. Because I'm like, it looks very realistic. Whoever, if it is just a carving, whoever did it is incredible, because that right there is a masterpiece on its own. Could you imagine, like, keeping that in a museum or something? Like a horror museum?
In a chest?
So creepy. Another good thing, great acting. Like, you mentioned it earlier, the sister in the beginning who gets murdered and the sister who carries on the rest of the movie is played by one actor, and she did a fantastic job.
Yeah.
Like, she did both characters really well to a point where, like you said, you couldn't tell.
I was like, is that her?
Yeah.
But, you know, it was weird, though? The husband was acting like a dick, though.
Of course.
The husband was acting like he did not even give a shit.
He really, yeah.
I guess he did. I guess that's the acting, right? You have to act like that because if you're gonna kill your wife.
That was the point, I guess.
Yeah, like he really didn't care.
He really didn't care. Like, I never, for once in that movie, thought that he cared about the sister or about anything.
Yeah, he looked like he had no emotion.
Yeah.
But the acting was good, though.
No, yeah, the acting was good. I think specifically the acting with the main character, I think her name is Carolyn. Mm-hmm. Carolyn Bracken. She was fantastic. And there's not that many cast members to begin with.
It was like 5 people.
Yeah, it's mostly her, but she did a fantastic job.
And then her Oddity store looks cool too.
Yeah,
that they showed fun. You a little. Yeah, they showed you a little bit of it, but it was pretty cool. But if they would have shown a little bit more,
of course.
But I always want more.
Of course. Also, like, shout out to Irish horror movies. I feel like we've seen a lot of them recently, and they're all pretty damn good.
Yeah, where did they get this idea from? It wasn't like an Irish thing, right?
No, I mean, like, the Oddity itself is rooted in Jewish culture, so I don't know, but they know how to do eerie, atmospheric, tense shit really well.
Oh, so that's probably why it was all dark, because remember Ireland? It's like dark, dark and like raining and stuff.
I've never been. Yeah, they do that shit pretty damn well. We should probably do a list, like, just internally between the two of us. We should do a list of all of the Irish horror movies that we've seen, because I feel like it's adding up and I'm not realizing it until now. So let's move on to the dislikes or dislike. I just have one dislike, and for me, the plot was just extremely predictable.
Yeah, it was like the husband wanted to kill the wife. I don't want to spoil it, but spoilers. The husband wanted to get the wife killed, so he hired somebody to kill the wife, and then the sister came in there and killed his ass, all kind of shit. Yeah, it was just like a regular. It wasn't like it didn't make up a brand new story of anything.
Yeah, I totally agree. I don't think it's original in terms of the plot at all. It's super predictable. I'm pretty sure when we were watching it, I was like, I know what's happening. I know who did it. I know who killed her, blah, blah, blah. And it was spot on because it was just a very cliche story. It was a cliche revenge story. But this time, the person who was directly affected wasn't the one getting the revenge. It was that person's sister. So I guess that's a little bit of a twist. But, like, I saw every step coming, unfortunately, and that kind of takes away from the horror because you just know how this is going to end.
Yeah, and I think the sister was a ghost, too. So they added a lot of, like, supernatural shit in there, too.
Yeah. And there was kind of an element of surprise with in the beginning of the movie, there's kind of like a mental patient at the door. That was kind of a twist because you didn't realize that he was the link that kind of unraveled everything later on. Yeah. That was interesting.
Yeah, they try to, like, twist the story up to make you think who the killer is.
Yeah.
But then you find out it's the fucking husband who did it.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, that was cliche. It was like a fable, like telling you the story, like, this is the lesson.
Yeah. Very, very straightforward, clear cut, kind of boring, to be honest. I think that's probably why you don't find this to be a masterpiece, because it's nothing innovative in terms of the plot. And
then also, like, the sister was so weird. Like, she was blind and played that weird character that she even was like, oh, if I kill somebody, then I'm gonna have to pay for it later on, like karma and shit. I'm just like, yo.
Wait, what do you mean?
Remember when she killed she accidentally killed somebody with the wooden man, and then she was like, I'm gonna have to pay for that. She killed who did she kill? She killed somebody. Oh, did the wooden man kill the guy in the hospital?
Oh.
The guy in the hospital who she
yeah.
The guy in the hospital that she thought was the killer, the wooden man killed him. So she's like, I'm gonna have to pay for that because he's not the killer.
Oh, I remember this now.
So I'm like, you have to be that fucking...
It was like morality type shit, which is...
She had to be like that weird, like, I'm weird, but if something happens, I gotta pay for it.
It's kind of weird for her to be talking about ethics and morality when she's literally there to go kill
revenge.
People. Yeah. So, yeah, that was weird.
I'm like, are you religious or are you not religious?
It was strange.
Because the devil is the wooden man.
Also, like, I'm assuming that this wooden man, based off of the plot, of course, it's been passed down from person to person, like woman to woman in the family. So, like, are they witches?
Yeah, because she was like, it's a gift from the family, or passed on from the family.
Yeah.
So it's like, if his wife knew about it, why didn't she have the wooden man there with her to protect her? Or is that how the wife became a ghost because they're witches and they'll all live on forever? Yeah, it's like, it was weird.
They actually didn't really explain that part. I'll agree with you there that we should have gotten more of that. I guess they wanted to keep it clear cut.
Clear cut and vague at the same time.
Yeah, just make it like a very simple story, but really focus in on the logistics of the horror stuff. Which, it works out in that sense, but at the end of the day, it is a very boring story.
Okay.
I mean, it's a boring story. I'm not saying that the movie is boring. I'm just saying, like, it's not innovative. It's not interesting or new. So it's not like a story that you're going to be like, oh shit, you gotta hear about this story. It's more of like, oh shit, you gotta see the monster in the story.
Yeah.
In the movie.
Then the cinematography and how the colors and everything, how everything plays on, the acting.
Right.
That's why I wouldn't call it a masterpiece. Like, if this movie came out, like, in the 1990s, then maybe it would have been a masterpiece. Because it's like, we already seen shit like this before.
Yeah, and it's sort of like, maybe Flanagan was coming from it from the perspective of him doing adaptations of stories, where it's already been clear cut for him because he's taking the story, like, what was the story?
Midnight Mass? Like Dracula and shit?
Not Midnight Mass. What was the first one? Was it Hill House?
Oh yeah, Hill House. The story's already there.
Yeah, Hill House is already there. Like, everybody knows what's going to happen in Hill House, but he put a spin on it, so I don't know, whatever. I do think that it's still a entertaining and good movie to watch, because I did get scared, and it...
Oh yeah, you did jump.
It accomplished that part of the horror, even though the story was kind of like, alright, whatever, I just want to see the scary stuff. We're going to end things off here with a question to the audience, which we do at the end of every single episode, and you can answer this question, this prompt, on our Instagram account. We do like a weekly prompt post there, so you can head over to Instagram now at Live or Alone Pod, and you'll see the post there, and the question is, if you were a cursed object, what object would you be? Rapid fire. Don't think too much about it. What object do you think that you would be?
I would be a toilet bowl.
You know what? That checks out. That checks out. And that would be a pretty awesome, funny horror movie to see. And I feel like somebody would do a horror movie like that.
That's gonna steal my movie idea.
Right? Can't you see somebody doing that?
Oh, yeah.
I could. I mean, there's Cocaine Bear and shit, but anyway.
Oh, yeah. Is that a horror movie? Nah.
I think for me, I would be like a paintbrush. Could you imagine, like, the paintbrush is, like, possessed and then you stab people with it?
Oh, yeah. What's the toilet bowl doing? Swallowing people?
You know what? Use your imagination.
The alligator's coming out of it. Yeah.
I could see it happening. I could see a stupid-ass movie like that. Anyway, you let us know what object you would be. I am very interested to see how creative you're going to get. But thank you so much for listening. If you liked today's episode and you want to hear more from us, do us a favor and follow us on social. We are on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, of course, at Live or Alone Pod. And tune in next Wednesday, because we are going to be talking about a short YouTube horror film taking the internet by storm, Milk and Cereal.
Oh yeah, that shit's good.
But for now, we'll see you in the kitchen with a knife.